Curse words and sarcasm were used in the making of this video. Hello, Jamie from Salty Card Creation, sharing with you today an ink road stamps hidden movement card and the stinky fart it turned out to be. I did do a new color palette for this one using that Simple Stories Remembered paper pack. If you are interested in the color palette, it still will be on my Instagram. I will put it on my Instagram, but I will also put it on my blog at inkyandscrappy.com, and it will be on my Ohuhu Marker Blend page or color blend page. It's on the right hand side. All of my color palettes that I've done are over there, and they are free to use if you are interested. This one, I think I used mostly my Ohuhu, which is this fine nib markers, but I might have brought in a couple of the Honolulu ones, which is the brush nib. I do try to put, if I have both of them, on my color palette when I do it. So if you're looking off to the side there, like that V891 is a little V, and then I have the bigger, then I have it in a number, which is the old Ohuhu line, and then that R11, which is all the same color. It's just different markers within the Ohuhu line, or in the Honolulu line. Ohuhu line. So those are always going to be on my blog. I do have a conversion chart on my Etsy shop if you are interested. So do the $3 one. It's fairly cheap for all the hours that I put into it, and it's got everything on there that you can think of. If I don't have a color match for something in the other line, I tried to put it in parentheses if I knew there was one that was close, but if there isn't one that's close and you have some questions and you only have the other one, please leave me a message below and I will try to get back to you on some other color options that might be in the Honolulu line that aren't in the Ohuhu line. I hope that helps. I don't know. So I have my image colored. I kind of kept it, I start with dark and go to my lighter colors and just work from there. I did color the other one off camera just because I was coloring it the same. And so I didn't really need to show you all of that. But I did keep the coloring in because I like watching coloring in fast speed. And maybe you do too. If not, skipping ahead is fine. So to start this one, I kind of stamped my image where I thought it was going to lay. Now, I probably should have put a little more thought into it. When I say this one turned out to be a stinky fart, at this point, it was totally fine, and I kind of sped through the whole thing because I was like, oh, it's just a mess and it didn't work, and I was so frustrated with it before I was done. But really watching it in replay, you know, when I'm filming I don't get to watch it in replay, so while I was filming I just got frustrated and quit filming after it didn't work. At one point I was just done. But really, this is how you do this one. It's kind of like short sheeting the bed. I've done this one a few different times. It's really fun to use the little penis popping out. I've done that one quite a few times. I haven't videotaped that one because, well, of course, it would probably get flagged by YouTube. At least my naked lady card that I tried loading on here got flagged by YouTube. So it is what it is, right? But I've done that one as well, so it's just like pops out of that slit. So the big one with this one is you kind of like short sheet it. I don't know how else to put it, but you kind of have like 1 inch to 2 inches in that back that allows you to, once you put the front piece onto the back piece there, it kind of allows you to make it pop. Now the other issue with this one that I had was I wanted it to open all the way up. And if I would have been okay with it just opening part way up, it could have still stayed in there and not got like stuck out of the slot, I guess. So you cut a slot in that first layer, or that front piece, the piece that you're going to see. And by cutting that slot and sticking your image that's going to pop out through it, you're kind of, you know, it's a lot in how you decorate on top of it, I guess, is the big thing. Clouds work really well, so like unicorns and the clouds work good. I did a balloon one, which is on my Inky and Scrappy channel, and that one might show you it a little bit better. I had done a bunch of them at that point in time, and I hadn't done this one for probably about a year. And so I was a little rusty, very rusty. I am trying to work on one that is going to be in real time that'll show you this process a little bit better. I promise it's one I'm going to hit probably this weekend and just really get it done and do the voiceover as I do it. I have to, think about things and plan it ahead before I can record that one. So give me some time. So I also do another sheet of A2 size paper. So you're going to go with your 5.5 by 4.25 if that's what your finished card size is. A lot of times with this one, your finished card size is going to be, it might be different than an A2 or I don't know how else, your normal card size. So it's not going to be one of your typical ones. I've done a square one that works really well. I think that was my hot air balloon one. The thing with this one is your image the image that's popping out, it needs to stick out through that slot. And so that's probably the most important part on this one and where I fucked it up. Yeah, it happens. This one, I said, kicked my fucking ass. I loved the finished result, don't get me wrong. It just kicked my ass. It was a Monday. I'm going to blame it on it was a Monday. So I'm just cutting my papers down to kind of cover up what I needed to cover up. I'm going to have to go back in and cut that slit. Now, something that I learned on this one is keeping that slit a little bit bigger than a single cut. Like going back in, like moving it, shifting it, the larger that split is, it's going to make it a little bit easier for that image to pop out of it. So keep that in mind. The other thing is your paper that's laying on top of that slit or your images. You don't want to put anything on the top that's going to hinder movement or it's going to get stuck on the way back down because it will also cause some issues. How do I know? Because this one gave me all the issues. Yeah. The other thing with this image, and I got this image when it first came out, I was like, this is what I wanted to do with the farting unicorn. I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect for this card. So for this one, I'm gluing in that A2 panel onto the back of it. You only put glue on that little strip that is above the slit line on that, I guess it ends up being the front panel here, where your image is slid through, right? So you only that's the only amount of real estate you get to put some glue on. I wouldn't have had to cut mine down on top there because I ended up coming back in and gluing another piece over the top anyways. I could have kept that one longer than I had originally kept it on this one. So for this one, I'm just decorating that front piece. It's not going to be like a normal card. It doesn't do that whole, because you kind of have an open hinge in the back. Does that make sense? It's not like your piece of paper that's folded, so that one panel is kind of going to be loose on the back. I don't know if that helps. So I'm just decorating that front panel first here. So I'm kind of coming in using my cutting. I kind of want it to match the front and the inside because I want it to look like, the continuation of the scene or maybe a different image from the scene. Now, I probably should have done, this is where I was frustrated because the image was not sitting below the top of my line here because that unicorn is stretched up and tall. And yeah, here's where I know I messed up. I should not have done this. I shouldn't have cut it off. I should have left it and I should have just extended my scene on the outside and the inside to match the height of the unicorn on the inside. But that was, this is hindsight, right? I know that now. I did not know that at the time. So I was trying to move my fart down here so it could end up, so I'm just kind of pulling it in and out, trying to work with it, make it work. And so I'm going to redo the fart in here, hope for the best. It ended up being a stinky mess. And yeah. So when I did it this way, I couldn't open it all the way, or I couldn't close it all the way and it wouldn't stay in the slot. That's where I'm saying that you have to make sure you have enough real estate above the slot so it stays in the slot. Otherwise, it's just going to keep popping out of the slot and it's not going to work. Now, because I was playing with this so much, it bent that paper piece. So I tried to reinforce it with some paper behind it, which made it get stuck and caught. And it was just a hot fucking mess. I'm not going to lie. And yeah. The other thing is making your slit just a little bit bigger. So if you cut once and then shift it up like a 1/16 of an inch even, and then make another cut and then kind of connect those cuts so it's a little bit wider of a slit there, it will move a little bit better. And yeah, it happens, right? So I just kept trying to make it work, and finally I just was like, I didn't even know where to go anymore. I was like, and you couldn't see anything on camera because I was just, yeah. Here's me peeling everything off. I did not want to waste. I love this paper pack. This is the only one that I have in this one. And if you've been on social media, I don't think I've shared that my local scrapbook or craft store is closing. And so I'm not going to have, like, the options to go back and pick up all of the things. So I was, already dealing with I'm frustrated on, my favorite store closing. And I hate buying stuff. I hate buying paper online. Paper to me is like one of those impulse buys when I see it and I see it's pretty. And then I have to touch it and then I can't leave it because it's pretty. Yeah, that's where I'm at with the paper. So I was trying to save my paper stash because, I only picked up one book. I went back. They were all already out by the time I went back. But it is what it is, right? I might end up folding and buying some more. I'm not going to. I'm going to behave myself. Yeah, I was frustrated at this point. Like, this is the start of my second try on it. I knew what went wrong, kind of, sort of, on the first one, but I didn't understand what I did wrong on the first one. Now I know what I did wrong on the first one. But trying to get it to go again, it was not working for me at all. And yeah. So I think it was close to this point where I was just done. It happens. So I'm trying to give it a little bit more room because technically you can cut down and you can have more real estate below it than what you need. Usually I try to make that cut mark a little bit below where my slot mark is, just so then it can open all the way up and it'll allow my whole card to open all the way. Did it work on this one? I don't know. So here's me trying to I'm like, this is good. I'm going to cut my first piece. I'm going to figure out where it's going to sit. So you see, I have it both kind of where I think they're supposed to be. Did it work? No. I thought I was, planning right. It still didn't work. Yeah. And thankfully, I did not glue down that inside image until I was 100% sure it was going to work. I think I went through more card-based paper than, I think it was 3, 4, I don't know. It was a lot. So I'm going to try this one again, cut it out again, go from there again. And ultimately, if I'd have gone back, watched my footage, I'd have, seen where my issue was. The other thing with this one, and I recap on it at the end. So if you want to skip all this, go right ahead. It's just me making a hot mess of life in general. But I did kind of go over in the recap once I had it all figured out. I was like, okay, I kind of probably should figure this one out and make it work video-wise. But yes, you see how it just is not staying in the slot, and that was kind of where my issue was when I went back to redo it. I just was trying too hard to make it fit in the space that I was allowing myself, and I should have allowed myself more space. It's what happens when, it's a Monday. Yeah, you see where I'm like, this just isn't working, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. So here's me giving all of it a little bit of CPR. And feel free to skip this next little, I think it's 7 minutes of me trying to explain what I actually did. So here you go.
Okay, so what I did wrong or what failed me, I guess. I've done this one before. It's worked. I haven't done it for about a year, so sometimes refreshers help. I do have a template. I don't know if this will help you with that whole process, but so I think my issue on this one was, so you see how this line here is there, right? This one, just because of how tall the unicorn is this way, and the other one is only going to come up here, it probably hindered it. I need to play with it a little bit to figure out what I did that I could do differently on this type of card where it's only going to come up a little bit, and I'll troubleshoot it and hopefully I'll get back to you. But so this one, if you figure it, and I could have made this one longer, but I don't think I would have gotten the raise that I needed, so I have to play with that a little bit. But usually I leave about 1 inch, so make your inside piece about 2 inches shorter overall. So if you fold it already, just slap off 1 inch and you should be okay. And then the idea with this one is so when this opens up, you want this part here to be just a little bit under where your slash is, or your slice and your top piece is, so it doesn't hinder. So I guess that's kind of, the overall, that's kind of what you're looking at and how you're going to do it. So make yourself a template first and try to look at that and figure it out. I will tell you what I did wrong with this one. If this is what I know I did wrong with this one. So I ripped this one apart at least 3 times. I shut off the camera after 2 hours because it just wasn't working. And so you saw some of it. It just was not playing nice. So I did save my front panel because I had that one done. This card is super thick, super heavy. Yeah, it is what it is, right? So on this one, so your inside piece, so this is really just the start of the card, is this piece here, and this piece here is actually this piece. This top slab here, the top part, is actually another panel, but the only part that you can fit that panel to is going to be this, whatever's left on this piece here, whatever's sticking out. So whatever is above your slice is going to stick out. That's what holds on this piece here. Granted, mine was really far down on it, so I had a lot of real estate to glue on that piece. Keep that in mind. This one, because of where it was, I ended up cutting it down so far. I don't know, let's see if you can see that. So I ended up cutting it really short, which really didn't work the greatest overall. So that's one that I'd have had to play with a little bit more. I kind of have an idea maybe of how to fix it, but I'm not 100% positive. I'll play with that. But it works. I mean, it doesn't not work. It's just, it definitely gave me some troubles, and I did say a bunch of swear words. Probably more swear words than Ink Road Stamps even has in their whole catalog of sweary word sentiments. Yeah, I make up my own too, so that doesn't help. But so it did work overall, and I ended up adding in some little flowers to kind of go with the background paper, but it really was to cover up my F-ups. All right, so I ended up ripping off this piece at least twice, and I ended up ripping off the unicorn because I didn't have it in place, because I was trying to work with it. The other thing I did was pop my unicorn up on some foam tape. It kind of helps lift it up and away from my moving part because I didn't want it to get caught. The only part that on the back side of the unicorn is attached is just this itty bitty double layered adhesive on the tail because I was struggling. So I made it work. It probably took me 4 hours to create the whole card. Yeah. So I kept it fairly simple on the inside with just to hold it. It kind of went with the, hey, you drop those shoulders and clench that jaw. Take a deep breath. Hold it. Oh, why are we're stuck. So we slipped out of the one I was showing you. Let's pop that back in there. So this was the other thing with this one is it was really skinny right here. I'm thinking if I'd have just attached a piece of acetate, and the acetate could have been a fuller, I got it stuck again. Well, shoot the bear. Okay, it's because it bended and bowed, and then it's not going to work. Go figure. Okay, so here we go. So if I would have stuck a solid piece of acetate behind there, kind of like in this one, if this would have been, because you can definitely glue on a piece of acetate, you know, on the other side so it doesn't hinder it. But if you do an acetate piece, then I would imagine that I could get that fart cloud to come up and not be so weak. It's definitely an option that I will try when I remake. It won't be this card, but it'll remake. I want to remake it. I want to make it with that unicorn, because I was like in love with it as soon as I saw it, because I was like, ooh, I can do the little poppy, you know, the little moving card thing. So, and then to finish it off, I put a whole nother card base on that back panel to finish it off. So it says, Fart Ninja, you'll be the second to know. So, you know, I mean, it works. I'm happy that it works. It was frustrating as fuck. I said this one kicked my motherfucking ass. Literally, I was ready to throw it in the garbage more than once. I probably ripped it apart 3 times for sure. Hence the pile and the CPR that it needed. But it worked. I made it out. But that's kind of where my issues lied with this one. So I will try to get a real-time tutorial of just the mechanism up on my Inky and Scrappy channel. So stay tuned for that. I will post a link on this video if I get it done before this one goes live. I can't promise you anything though. So anyways, I hope you have an amazing day. Keep getting inky. And yeah, you see my new stamps. I was excited. Anyways, back at it. Bye.
See, I've told you I was a hot mess. Now you know. It's the truth. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.